Hey guys, this is Sajady. Welcome to Mas on Sunday. It is a special today because of, well, in the US, it's Halloween. I don't know if Halloween is practiced throughout the world. Comment in if it is or if it's not. Not exactly sure. I never thought of it actually, if Halloween is practiced across the world. But today it's going to be the science of the unseen. We're not alone in the universe. And, there's a lot of discussions, a lot of topics, a lot of physicists going, no, it's not. The government going, hey, you know what? There's no aliens. And then they just a couple months ago, right? They released some stuff on, gosh, hey, we've been visited by aliens and so on. So what's the truth? What's going on there? And I'm going to read you this. It's beautiful copy here on the science of the unseen, explaining the supernatural. And it was an event I did just a couple days ago, and you can re-listen to it. It's really fantastic. But it says it so well. It says our world is filled with mysterious occurrences that we cannot yet explain, from sightings to premonitions, predictive dreams, and inexplicable knowings. The supernatural and world beyond the physical has intrigued and mystified humans since the dawn of time. Some of the greatest minds in history, such as Einstein and Nikola Tesla, encountered phenomena that superseded explanation, and the pioneering edge of science continues to reveal more questions than answers. I love that sentence, and that it's again, the science continues to reveal more questions than answers. So what's out there? Our fascination with the inexplicable grows, from the Upside Down into Stranger Things to the parallel universes of Avengers and Spider-Man. Even the top trends in Hollywood mirror our captivation with the strange and unknown. But is there any truth to these occurrences and belief in the unseen? Is there science behind the peculiar, weird, and baffling occurrences that have been reported throughout human history? So that's what we're going to be talking about, giving you the science behind it. And again, I'm not going to go through all of it because you can listen to it. And I have my drawings and so on that. Also took just give me a second here, a screenshot if I can see it. This one too. So this was from Reddit. It says the afterlife is in our heads, consciousness, and near-death experiences. So again, somebody saying that that's all in your head. And I'm going, no, that's bullshit. There's more to it. And again, scientists or whoever else that believe that, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but it's bullshit. Because I've had 3 near-death experiences, and it's not flashes in your eyes or they say it's the kind of messing up my words today. It's the optic nerve that still has life, and then there's flashes, and that's what you see, or it's all that stuff. But there's so many things that they can't explain, and then they just go, oh, you're crazy. So again, there's things that are out there that are unseen. And the way I equate it, and by the way, you guys can ask me some of the questions on what's real, what's not, and I'll give you some of the science behind it, but I think I covered a lot in the science of the unseen that hopefully my team can pin on the chat. I've been out there. And yes, there's like entities. Yes, there's spirits. Yes, there's UFOs. Star Wars, not exactly sure. Are there galactic beings and so on like that? Sure, there is. Galactic beings, they would be out there, or aliens, they'd be out there, but not the way we know it. Okay. And by the way, those aliens are not there to attack us. That consciousness is always there. And I'll just give you a brief explanation. And again, the science of the unseen explains the whole detail in diagrams. Imagine that, like say for example, we die. Okay. We die, we go to another level of consciousness. And some people go, no, you just rot. and that's the end of you. Really, it's really not, because in that way, your genetic structure and so on doesn't can't exist anymore, and then your genetic makeup would die as well. And that's happened, by the way. There's some science that proves that, or starting to prove that, by the way. So, and I've seen it over 100,000 client sessions and so on. I've seen where an awakened death, okay, an awakened death occurs. So an awakened death is somebody that knows that they're going to die, okay, and they start to realize that, wait a second, there's a higher version of me that's going to sustain or stay on. Okay? So what that is literally that you're plugged into a consciousness. Okay, and first, nobody knows or nobody understands, especially like this guy here. I don't want to call out his name. He was on Reddit. What is it? r/philosophy. So he's into philosophy. Anyway, I guess I did point out his name. He thinks that consciousness is something inside here, and then you die and it leaves you. No, it doesn't work that way. Consciousness is actually what creates this reality. And again, I talk about that, but not on this, not on this Moss on Sunday. But for example, you die, you start to realize that there's a consciousness or information or a plug-in, basically, if you can think of it. There's a in the higher realms, okay, you're basically plugged in to a consciousness that says, example for me, Moss, or Joan, or whatever your name is, right? Or whatever you've labeled that consciousness, or what your parents have labeled. So if you have an unawakened death, for example, you don't render your light here, you don't render your shadow. So example, there's a projector, okay, I'll make it really simple. Death, for example, or ghosts and so on. Very, very simple. There's a projector, okay, it runs through all these filters, and there's a projector, and there's a filter that creates, say, a red image upon you, or a human image upon you. There's a filter that renders you as human, in human form. Okay, you physically die. Okay, you physically die here. You flip on the other side. So what that means is that the projector stops casting your light in this reality of three-dimensional space. Okay, but the key is, if you're not awakened, again, not awakened death, that projector is still casting that light, but the light isn't strong enough anymore to project yourself here. So it exists in a higher consciousness, in a higher space, in a higher realm. And then what happens is that, well, you, again, can plug in, say your loved ones can plug into that port or that light. And then that light shines through you. And this is where, how many of you had where your loved ones have died, especially as they're older, they've died, and then you morphed into them, right? You get the same diseases, and you go, well, fuck, that's genetics. Well, what the hell is genetics? Where did you get that? Genetics is always changing. So says the Russian scientists, and I believe that, rather than say in the US, genetics is hard coded, because if it was, you couldn't pass it down to, you couldn't pass your genetics down onto your children if they were hard coded. So there's a lot of discussion around that as well. So again, and this is how you transform. Somehow, when people die and then they're not awakened, it is like a live wire, right? A live wire that still exists. And this is where some of you might go, oh, I see my grandmother, or, my grandmother talks to me and so on, like that, because again, you're connecting to that live wire, which isn't the best thing for you, by the way. Okay. So again, it's not the best thing, because you morph into their genetics, if that makes sense to you. You're genetically coded now with them. So that's how you explain, say death. Okay, and again, I have science of death that gives you more explanations. The science of the unseen, that gives you more explanations on how that works, the details. Okay, and if you're out there that says, that's bullshit. Again, comment in and I can explain it later. So somebody says here, plugged like the Matrix. Yes. So basically you're an app. Okay. You're an app that lives on the blockchain of existence. Okay. That app ceases to exist. That app is basically your physical form, your physical function. That app is still on the blockchain. Okay. And then you happen to say resonate similar to that app. You would get, say, locked in, or you would be able to plug into that blockchain. By the way, that's how my abilities work. I can read anybody, anytime, anywhere, whether they're dead or alive. In fact, I'll show you that. We've got 2 live individuals that I've never say scanned before, or maybe I have. I don't know. I think they're brand new, that I've never scanned before. That I'll show you what how I can plug into them. So that's science of the unseen. Again, that's science of the unseen. How do I know who they are, what they are? With that, and I do this all the time, by scanning you guys, right? After the Mass on Sunday. I read you and I don't know anything about you. How do I do that? Again, it's that connection. I mean, there's so many things that, we don't believe in that is really out there. But although we use it all the time, like wireless technology, when Tesla invented that, nobody believed in it. But wireless technology is now like common. It's like, of course it's real, wireless technology, but how do you know? You don't see it. You might experience it, right? By, you click on your remote and your TV turns on, or, you're connected wirelessly here, or you have wireless internet. That's all science of the unseen, right? So there's a lot of technology that we do know, about, but then there is also a lot of technology that is out there that nature uses. For example, your consciousness, okay, how you render yourself here. And this is where XI comes in. Exponential intelligence, the science of exponential intelligence comes in. It explains all that. And it explains it not through, say, case studies or anything like that, or clinical trials or anything, because we don't have that much knowledge. We can't access the unseen, because to do that, we'd have to step out of, say, who we are or where we are to see it from a different perspective. For example, if you live in a red room all your life, okay, think of it. You're in this red space all your life, or you're a fish. Much easier. Okay, you're a fish. You live in water, and that's all you know. You're born in water. You die in water. You go, well, that's it, water, right? So again, a fish would never know if it had, say, not consciousness, but an intellect, because consciousness is different. A fish would realize once they step out, it's like, shit, I'm out of water. Just like you take air for granted. We'll go to real high elevations, or go to a place where there is no air, and you go, God, what's that unseen thing that I always breathe that literally gives me life, right? So it's very similar to that, right? When you cross over, like I have 3 times now, when you cross over, you go, damn, there's another version of me that is much more grander, limitless than anything here. This is time bound here. And then when you go into that field, and when you are awakened, okay, when you're awakened to see that there are 2 versions. So there's this limitless version, or timeless version, or the unseen version that literally controls you, that dictates how your life runs here. And then there's the physical rendering that you experience. Okay, when you die, awaken, you step back into this rendering, and you look, forward into your life. This is where many individuals go. That they review. It's a life review. They review their life after they've died, so on like that, and then they come back. So that's where that comes from. All right, let's take a deep breath in, and then we'll take you into that unseen space. Also, there's a lot of things, for example, in science, that cannot be explained through, back in the day, it was Newtonian physics, right? Newtonian physics is basically the physics of the world, the physics of bigger, larger objects, like an apple falling, things of that nature. And then as science, like Tesla and Einstein and so many scientists, as they go deeper and deeper to try to discover what's there in the universe, they go, shit, damn, there's smaller and smaller quantum realms that we don't even understand, So the Newtonian physics covers the bigger objects, and it's accurate, right? It's accurate. It works, right? Weight, mass, density, and all that. Those are Newtonian physics, right? Gravity and so on. But then it's like, well, how does gravity work? And then nobody knows how gravity works. And this is where Einstein said, there's spooky things at a distance, because he couldn't figure that shit out. So, and then they got into like quantum. He got into quantum mechanics, quantum physics, like Niels Bohr and so on. Like that started to go, God, there's a quantum realm here. There's a quantum realm that goes beyond, anything that we've seen here. And it starts to explain, the Newtonian physics, the normal everyday stuff that happens here. And now scientists are discovering or understanding that it's like, shit, there's things more that transcend space and time even. And this is where, say, the double slit experiment and multidimensional space, they're getting into that superpositioning. If you follow quantum mechanics or quantum physics or neuroquantum science, where they're starting to notice that, oh, wait a second, beyond the neurobiology, they call it quantum neurobiology, beyond the neurobiology of this realm, right? Beyond your neurobiology, that biology, that brain, however it connects to, or it has a leap of, say, energy that they can't yet explain, but I can, because I'm in that field all the time. Through the 3 near deaths, you jump. There's a jump, and then you can access what I talked about a little bit earlier, right? You plug into, say again, that blockchain. And this is where you start to understand the world from a very, very different perspective. That's why I call exponential intelligence the science of everything, because it literally does explain how this reality works. Not just this reality, but all realities are basically how time and space and then beyond work. So, so anyway, go ahead and ask me some of the questions. Not exactly sure about Star Wars. Somebody was asking about Star Wars. So again, there's different aliens and so on like that, that they talk about. Let's see. Galactic Council. Yes, there are things. How many of you see angels and so on like that? I can describe angels. So angels, and there could be, and there's a consciousness, or it could be, again, a higher intelligence. Again, so angels, aliens, pretty much for me, from an XI standpoint, it's pretty much the same. It's a benevolent being that you tapped into. So imagine this, okay, and I'll just give you a preview on what's on the science. There is that, there's layers and layers and layers of consciousness, okay, within each consciousness. So there's your infinite self up here. Imagine, say, a bright light, okay, and then there's layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. With each layer of consciousness, we start to figure out that we can start to create density. That's why there's layers or filters there, as we see. Just like, again, a projector, and you put a green screen or a filter on, and then a red filter, and you turn red, and then a green filter, you turn green, and so on. So anyway, with each, say, consciousness, or with each layer or filter, we can create more and more density. Okay, hence to the point that we can render and see ourselves in physical form. Okay, so basically, an angel is somebody at a higher level of consciousness. Okay, there are layers of consciousness, by the way, and I explain this on the Moss experience if you want to know more. So there's this, so an angel is a higher level being that's conscious of its awareness that you say can either expand into, escape into, or that angel has, say, an again, a consciousness or an observation that it can extend itself into, say, in a human realm, but it cannot represent itself in human form or any type of form. So that's, and then you go, oh, angel so-and-so. Okay, so that's a real angel, by the way. Okay, now there are angels, and this is the way I want to decipher that. There are angels, or if you can call that alien, because it's a foreign being, right? If you're, I'm from, again, Afghanistan. So in the US, I'm considered an alien, a foreigner in an alien, somebody that is not of their land or not of their space. So again, I would be considered an alien, or an alien residence here, and so on. So anyway, it's somebody that is not of the land, right? So that's all it is. So it's a consciousness that is in another land at a higher frequency, and that consciousness, say, understands or knows more. If you were, say, not created here, and this is what XI about, and this is how I help transform you from the limited to the limitless, right? This is how I transform you. Many of you who've gone through going, gosh, I feel really limitless. This is the science of the unseen. You're rendering yourself here, physical form, and you're stuck in space and time. Time and space degrade. It has to. Otherwise, we could never go forward, right? Einstein always said, without time and space, everything would happen at once, all possibilities. So again, we at a higher consciousness have figured out, well, if we create time and space, it'll slow things down and we can do things and experience things one at a time, right? But the key is that if you keep rendering, or if your consciousness is at the lower levels of this reality, you age with time, right? Because time is a constant interval. You age, you get diseases. There's all sorts of things that are at the lower level that aren't at the higher level of consciousness. So as you go higher into, say, different layers of consciousness, of your consciousness, that again, you use less and less filters. As you use less and less filters, well, you start to become ageless. And this is where many of you go, shit, I'm aging younger. Exactly, because you're not aging with time. Does that make sense? Although your light is casting itself in time, you're up here. Your consciousness is up here, just like an alien. You go a bit higher, and then you start to see, or you start to experience, say, what we would call, say, aliens. Okay, the aliens that some people see and so on like that is that they've discovered glimpses of, and it gets really, really cool. And by the way, I will be doing a lecture series on, is the future the past or the present, or and so on like that, on crop circles, ancient cities, objects, amazing objects that are being unearthed. Is like, why is it being unearthed here, and what was intelligent life, right? So I'll be doing a lecture series on that, so take a look at that. That'll be coming up as well. Let's see, what else do we have, and then we'll get into scanning two live individuals. I was going to talk about the angels that aren't real. Okay, so this is a creation of the human mind, by the way. Okay, so angels that aren't real, for example, this is where you start to, say, render something, and you can do this, where a lie or something that's fictitious becomes truth. Okay, because it creates an auric field. It creates and this is where, how many of you seen, again, the movie Chucky and all those possessed dolls and so on like that? This is what happens for you. So angels and so on like that. Say that the angel, I don't know, some angel that's out there, and again, some of them are accurate, some of them are actually high level beings that have come down here, but so I'm not going to name angels that people believe in. But say angel God, Angel, what's a good name? Angel Rodriguez. I don't know if there's a real angel or people believe in that, right? Somebody say something happened, some miracle happened to somebody, and then also, some miracle happened to somebody, and it's this, and somehow the person is like Rodriguez, that comes up. It's like maybe it was his grandfather, right? And this is how these stories show up, right? Oh, it was my grandfather, and it's like, oh, Angel Rodriguez, and that goes throughout the family. It's like, grandfather help, and it was just a random coincidence. And again, explained by Exxon, that happened, that this miracle happened to you back in the day, back in the 1700s, and this spreads out through the town. Angel Rodriguez came through, right? It's like the grandfather came through, and so on. But then people start to forget, say, the grandfather. Right? People start to forget the grandfather, and then it's Angel Rodriguez, and then thousands of people start to, throughout this township, and this is how usually all this stuff starts. This township starts to go, oh, Angel Rodriguez, and they start preying upon, or they start believing that there is an Angel Rodriguez. Again, it's a manifestation of the mind, and this is where scientists would go, yeah, that everything is a manifestation of the mind, and it's not true, right? There are things that are true, and there are things that are like, hallucinations of the mind, which has amazing things. It's a placebo effect, basically, right? Or the observer effect. So then you have, say, a whole country that believes in Angel Rodriguez. And then eventually, the world gets through into the human population, and now there's an Angel Rodriguez that everybody taps into, that is very, 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 very similar. So if you go, what does Angel Rodriguez look like? And they would go, oh, he looks like a guy, and Rodriguez, usually Spanish or something like that. He's Spaniard and so on. You create that image, right? Rodriguez, right? Oh, Spanish or Spaniards, or something to that effect, right? Again, it just renders you, oh, Rodriguez. Your mind has already created Rodriguez, Spanish. Your mind starts to create it, and poof, it renders itself. Oh, masculine, and so on like that. But even if it wasn't, again, associated to, say, a Spanish name or anything like that, that visual that was created by that one person has created so much momentum that it's become, again, a physical form, a presence, so to speak, that everybody can tap into. Okay. And it's very similar to, say, a belief. Again, many people believe, say, things. And say you bring a foreigner into a country, and they don't know the customs or anything like that. Over time, without understanding the customs, they would start to morph into that culture. Right? You connect with a group. You connect with a group, and then eventually you become that group. That makes sense? So again, as a human consciousness, and that's how those, say, fictitious, say, angels start to show up. That's so again, something that's not really true. An auric field, there's a lot of mistruths in media that starts to become true. Right? There's a lot of mistruths in science that starts to become true. Like, say, 10 years ago, people used to believe X in science. And then 10 years later, and this happens every decade, literally on the mark every decade, science goes, oh, shit, because of new technology and new awarenesses and so on like that. It's like, shit, what we believed in 10 years ago is totally wrong. In fact, it's the opposite, right? So that, again, that's where science comes in. That's where you come in as well. What you might have believed in the family dynamics. Look at some of the stuff that you believe in the family dynamics that you still believe in, which isn't true. And that's what XI is about. Again, it's like, shit, I don't have to age like that. Your aging is a myth. Again, science of the unseen. Does the Galactic Federation of Light exist? The Galactic Federation of Light, I don't know if there's a thing like that, but there are consciousnesses that, say, connect to each other. that are aware of each other, that exist, that you can connect to, or I can connect to if you'd like. You'd have to be, say, at a certain level of awareness, right, to connect to it. It's not like, oh, I just want to connect to this galactic consciousness of light, if you want to call it that. I don't know what they would call it, but maybe there's enough people that have connected to that. Okay, now there's different versions. So again, this is another example of say that misinformation, right? Where you go, oh, I connected to a galactic consciousness of light, or I connected to a Jesus, or I connected to, Muhammad, or whatever, your faith believes in. And then it's like, oh, I connected to that. So there is a real consciousness, of Jesus, or of that galactic federation, and so on like that. So you want to watch out for that. And this is, again, science, and everybody goes, yes, it's true. No, it's not. It's not definitive like that. So I'll just give you the gradation of it. Okay. So it is true that there is higher levels of consciousness, just like, say, the UN. I wouldn't say they're higher levels, or better, but anyway, there's a group that gets together. Okay. Something else. Anyway, there's a group that gets together. Okay. At a higher level of consciousness, say, birds of a feather flock together. So at a level, say 100 consciousness, right? So that group of level 75 to 100 level of consciousness, that is aware of its awareness. So that's the definition of consciousness. It's aware of its awareness, right? Although it doesn't exist in this reality. It's aware of its awareness, and so it creates a group. Again, so those groups, they maintain itself. And yes, that's true, because I can actually connect to those. And then there's other people, obviously, that connect to that. And then what happens is, like, you start reading stories about it and so on, that there's that consciousness that's up there. And then other people, just like Angel Rodriguez, starts to come through, and then you start to form that in your own mind, right? And then you start to do deep state meditations and so on. And then you start to think that you connected to that consciousness. But it's your rendering. It could be your rendering, or your visual, or your hallucinations that you connected to. That makes sense to you. Maybe a clear example would be, say, Jesus. It's like, oh, I connected to Jesus. And I'm not saying you didn't, but there are so many different versions of what Jesus would be. So again, when you're connecting to, again, the unseen like that, you better be careful and ask, is it of the purest light? Okay. So one thing that you can take away from it, for those who, say, see the unseen, experience the unseen, channel the unseen, so on like that, you want to be sure that it is a purest intent for you. So one, if you connect to something like that, and you can do that right now, guys, by the way, and I can tell you that about in this group, and if you're listening as a it'll still work, but the live people on this group, okay, over about 80% of you, 90% of you, your angels, your spirit guides, and all those things that you connect to will disappear after this, because they weren't true. Okay, so I'll get you into that state. Okay, and again, if you're listening to this on a recording, it'll probably happen. It'll still work for you. And then we'll get into the scans. So take a deep breath in. Notice again the space around you. Spatial reference, if you know how to do that. If you don't, I would suggest doing the elevation to help you understand. And again, that's starting in November for you, if you really want to get into the deeper states or the deeper intellect, especially if you're a scientist. Breath in again. Notice how you're feeling. Again, that's science of the unseen. How can I, say, edit your frequencies? Breath in again. So here we go. You guys are good. Yeah. And again, comment in. Do you guys feel different? Take a breath in. spine. Notice your spine. Oh, people are already experiencing it already. Yes, mine disappeared as well. Oh yeah. Okay, you're talking. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you can comment in on how you're feeling, or you can comment in later, so because you don't want to break that rhythm. Notice your chest. So go ahead and connect to whoever you're connecting to. Your dead grandma. It's an angel for you, an angel, a spirit guide, I don't know, a spirit animal, an alien, whatever it is that's outside of you that you connect, that you channel or either get guidance from. Okay. There we go. Breath in again. And I know there's a lot of comments. So bring them in. That's great. And I haven't even gotten into the question that you're going to ask yourself, but they already know if they're not true for you, they're not the best for you, they're going to have to leave. Okay. So no matter who you think you are, maybe you're connecting again to Jesus. You go, well, Jesus is, that's not, it's good for me. It's great for me. Right. Notice your throat. Many people, who's on the call that has, it's almost like their throat is getting crushed. There's a few of you on the call. Whoever that is, I'll work on you. So again, comment in. Breath in again. There you go. So it's like, well, why is Jesus bad? Because if you really connected to the pure version of Jesus, what Jesus would have been, okay, without your filters, without your rendition, without your cultural or religious beliefs, you would literally be healed, okay, or pretty close to healed. So this is where many, you hear news stories. It's like, well, I was connecting with Jesus, and Jesus said, save your kids by, drowning them so they don't live the sins of the world. That's not Jesus. That's your rendition of a church that you were afraid of, that created a version, again, or a hallucination that you believed in, that, again, that mental talk that had you kill your kids. So again, be mindful of that. And this is what I'm talking about. Breath in again. Yes, throat issues, head cracking sounds. Yeah, so that group right there. So in your case, basically that group, and there's more of you, that group, basically the thing that connects you, the thing that you connect to out there, okay, that gives you knowledge. The more you use that knowledge, like many of you who have abilities or intuition, okay, even if you don't believe in abilities or what's out there, you have intuition, right? For example, you're a CEO and you get this intuitive hit. And again, I'm still preparing. There's a lot of you, so I have to, and what I do is I create you segments. So it just takes a little bit. But instead of sitting here silent, I'll just give you more information as I, again, create these subgroups. Breath in again. So what happens is that, so you get that intuitive hit, or you're an inventor, or you're a musician, and you get that hit for that next music, or that you get that hit from your painting, or you're that inventor, you get that hit for the next idea. Where did that stuff come from, right? So anyway, those things might actually be destroying you. The more you use it, the worse you get in physical form, because they drain you. Breath in again. So here we go. Ready? So you ask whatever it is, again, from the creative side to people who actually see things, or experience things, or connect to an angel and all that stuff. Breath in. And you want to ask, it's like, hey, are you of the pure light? and are you of the pure light? And some go, well, technically they'd hang around, and even now people, and again, notice what's happening for a lot of your connections there. And then technically they are the pure light because everything comes from pure light, right? Everything comes from one source, right? Take a breath in. And then you ask, well, are you of the pure light? And then are you of the best intent for me? Meaning, are you going to help me become my purest possible best self? So again, ask those two questions to anything that you see, right? Especially as as you come into your highest form. And again, maybe the team can write that out, or somebody can write that out for those people who go, what did he say? Again, are you of the pure light, right? Are you of the purest light? And are you going to help me become the purest essence, or the purest essence of myself even more? Okay. And then, or are they just there to suck the life out of you? Okay. Like somebody says, like they're fake cops. Exactly. Breath in. There we go. It's really important. So if you have friends that kind of start to get really weird, by the way, I would have them listen to this, because as the world changes, and this is a prediction, guys, as the world changes, you're going to see more and more crazy shit happen to people. People will start to lose their minds. People will start to go mentally unstable. People will start to, you look at them and it's like, damn, you look like, like great, great, great grandfather. It's like it's like, what's happening? Well, again, remember I said that people don't die awakened. They're in that next layer. This is reality zero. This is zero ground. This is where density gets created. This is the movie. This is the stage of life. This is the stage of time and space. Okay. This is where the stage of time and space where density can represent itself. The next layer up is very basically what now is considered the death grounds. Okay. Most people die unawakened through hospice, through drugs, through not just knowing anything. They die, they go to the next level. Well, if that layer one is merging into layer zero, like it always does, consciousness always is awakening again, always merging, always cascading down upon itself. So imagine what happens to the dead. Okay? This transition that we're getting into, again, it's a transition of a huge transition where that level one starts to merge into level two. So a lot of things will come back. A lot of nostalgia will come back. Why do you think movies like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, and so on are coming out? You'll see more of that stuff. You'll see more TV shows. You'll see more of, the 1980s, hairstyles and so on like that coming out and so on. Again, it's because those people, again, that died, not awakened, will come back and re-haunt people. You'll see people who go through surgery, and then like 2-3 months later, you'll see, go, shit, that's not them. That's not my spouse, or that's not my kid, because they've been, say, haunted. You'll see those things again. So those are those things that come out. That's, you can release those patterns. Again, have them listen to this podcast. Okay. Or not podcast, but show. I do have a podcast explaining deeper things called exponential intelligence. All right. So if you saw blonde, that's a possession. That person, that person, whoever the actress was, again, emulated Marilyn so well, because Marilyn's, say, she literally plugged in, or that consciousness started to awaken, and then plugged in or possessed that actress. And that is some crazy stuff was happening on the set, by the way. Okay. So again, that's another example. Or Queen. the guy that took over Queen, he was so real, right? Again, a possession. Those are real possessions. Or your favorite, like Van Halen. I love David Lee Roth. Or I love the consciousness that takes over David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth is not that, say, charismatic. No offense against David, but again, he's not that charismatic outside of that, say, persona, right? You call it a persona. I call it, again, a consciousness that comes in. And that's why those individuals, no matter how ugly they are or not too ugly, they are very attractive, right? And they sing really well and they attract the hell out of you, right? Well, that's why, because on stage, they come through, they come into that person. And again, it just like, it shines on them. You can see it in Madonna, by the way. Whatever persona Madonna gets possessed in back in the day. And this is why she's running a little crazy here today. But that whatever persona, again, that sensuality, that sexiness, that real woman and so on like that. And then you see her on an interview. Again, look at some of the interviews with her. Madonna on stage, Madonna off stage, two very different people, right? Because they get possessed. So we can talk more and more about that, and I'll be talking more and more about that later on. All right. So cool. Also in Beyonce, absolutely. There's so many people like Bob Dylan. He goes, yeah, I was possessed. There's no, say, coincidence that a lot of those individuals, great talents, die at the age of 30-year mark, or in their around 50s, right? There's no coincidence there. All right, guys. So let's take a deep breath in. Let's go bring in some individuals here. And again, I don't know these individuals. We're just going to scan them. Yeah. Who's the first one? Demi? Armas. Hey, Armas. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. Nice to
Hi.
see you.
Nice to see you. Can you just hold? Can you guys just hold 1 second? Thank you. All right, guys. But it is the cutest thing. It's the little girl next door. My daughters aren't here, but they're always coming. But she just kept knocking on the door. She's so cute. Anyway, looking for my daughters. All righty. So thanks, guys. So Aramis, and again, those people with abilities, comment in. Those people whose abilities are showing up, through, doing the practice of XI, again, allowing you to practice. So Aramis, what do you know about XI, or how long have you been with XI?
I think about a year. I've
Okay.
done 3 18 days.
Okay.
2 of them accelerated.
Oh, awesome. Nice job. So, but you've never worked with me one-on-one, right?
No.
Okay.
Only gotten during my first 18 days, I got a scan from you.
Oh,
And
okay.
during second one as well.
Okay. Yeah. The scans we do afterwards. So on the 18 days, guys, and even on the elevation coming up in November, starting actually tomorrow, I think, right? November. Yeah. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up, again, the team might put that up for you, elevation. If you really want to get into, again, becoming moving from the limited self to the limitless self, if you want to do that, a good way, especially, like I said, if you're new, to step into, say, your abilities or your powers. If you've been here before, doing the 18 days of elevation will just accelerate for you. Anyway, so I see a lot of changes since you've done, or you've taken the 18 days. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's like I'm mentally doing a lot better. But
Yep, see that?
right now I'm in this kind of spot that
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where I'm going, but also I don't have the usual anxiety of having to have this plan or road figured out.
Right. Oh, that's beautifully said. So again, so take a breath in, buddy, and I'll work on you. So what you've gone through, and I'm just logging in to you. So, and again, you've changed so much over, say, the past, how long? Three months, you said, or 318 days?
Yeah, 318 days.
Yeah, the 318 days. So the past, whatever, however long that is, 6 months or maybe. Take a breath in. So I'm trying to connect to your older version of yourself. Okay, so I'm talking about your older version of yourself. How old are you? Can I ask?
I'm 21, turning 22 in like 3 days.
To, so you're 22. You're going to be 22, right?
Yeah, on the 2nd of November.
Yeah, awesome. Happy birthday. So this is your birthday present. That's awesome. So you're 20, you're going to be 22. But before you started to do exponential intelligence, you felt you would feel like a younger boy to me. It's like a boy that was, say, trapped in an identity from your mom or dad. Does that make sense to you? You're a much younger version of yourself back in the day, like say 4 or 5 months ago. Does that make sense to you? It's
Yeah,
like,
I felt like I hadn't moved forward since I was about 16.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, like you're 16 and then you just froze in time. By the way, what happened? I keep getting a feminine frequency around you that, like even when you were younger, that feminine frequency. And again, it could be your father, but it could be your mother, whatever that feminine frequency is. And we'll talk about that. So that feminine frequency literally and this is what happens to a lot of kids, by the way, right? So that feminine frequency, literally, they might have loved you a lot, but basically suffocated you because they were in a lot of, say, turmoil, or they were in a lot of pain, so to speak. Does that make sense for you? And that as you've been growing up, that feminine frequency really, say, anchored onto you, and then it slowed your growth down. So you kind of morphed into that frequency, and that's why, again, you have more, no offense, you're a handsome guy, but you have that feminine or softer features because of that. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Does that make sense?
No, I'm trying to think because I don't know my father's side at all. Like my
Okay, you don't hear, so it's your mother then. So simple as that. So where was that? And this is what I'm getting at. So your father was not around, or what happened?
like they broke up before I was born, so I'm never
Okay,
seen.
got it. So they broke up before you were born. That's what I'm talking about. And then this feminine frequency, literally this feminine frequency, your mom, so to speak, anchored onto you. So you were, say, the replacement for your father, for your mom. You were that anchor. Your mom needs an anchor or a masculine identity. Does that make sense? You, no matter how old you were, basically became that masculine identity. But when women do that to their kids, okay, what happens is for male identities, they turn softer. Okay, if your mom had a daughter, she would become more masculine. It's kind of interesting how it flips around. So that's why you have this, again, more of a sensitive feel. You're very sensitive. You're very intuitive. I'm not saying, you're gay or anything like that, but again, on the feminine side. So
No, I completely understand. Like
yes.
I've often been approached like just about helping people or understand their whatever. So
Yep. Yeah, that's where that comes from. Again, that feminine sensitivity. So what we're doing now is we're speaking again, and what you've done. So this slows you down, and then something happened to your mom at about 16. When you were about 16, where you just literally, something happened to her. It's almost like she didn't want to live anymore, or that kind of feel, or
yeah, she had some health problems and everything, and actually she's been on the Mass on Sunday as well. So
oh, awesome. So she's waking up as well. So back when you were 16, basically, she might have had health problems, like almost dying. It's like, oh shit, you know. And again, what does she need? She needs a crutch or something or someone to lean on. That would have been you. So you got sucked into that, you know, her paradigm even more, because now it's like you're carrying her burdens or her weight. So since she's on Moss on Sunday here, let's work on her as well. And again, many individuals, I'm not saying that's a bad parent or she did it out of spite or anything, but that's the only thing that she knew. Okay. Many people are like that. They love somebody so much that, again, it doesn't, although they love somebody so much, it doesn't really benefit them. Take a breath in. So what you've done through the 18 days and so on, you've started to separate yourself from that identity. So otherwise you would have been saying an umbrella for your mom. And then as you age, again, your physical features and so on like that, although your genetic makeup is more of your father, whether you knew him or not, your aging or your physical body features might feel more like your mom to me. Does that make sense for you?
I don't know, because I have been told that like certain features and also actually certain problems or like anxieties and things I had were really similar to my father's side. So
Yes, but the physical, say, presence that you give out, I would say that it would be your mom. So again, I could be wrong, but usually I'm not. So what happens, again, this is where, again, you become more feminine and so on like that, or more sensitive. So take a breath in. Okay. Just notice your gut. This is where in a relationship, you would be the sensitive one, and you would attract masculine girls, for example, if you were in a relationship. Does that make sense for you? And just to put it like, you know, what happens to you, right? Yeah. Even in, say, you know, a friend to friend relationship, you would play the feminine role or the sensitive role, because again, there was no father figure for you. It's happened a lot. You know, war happens, for example, back in the day, a lot of men get lost. They get raised by their moms. Like look at France, right? A lot of sensitive men. The reason why is, well, they got lost. The women take over, and no offense against French people, but from what I see, the men are more and more sensitive, and then the women are more and more, say, masculine. No offense, but the people that I've seen, not all French people, but a lot of them are, say, the opposite, and that's because of, again, that same explanation. Take a breath in, buddy. So in this session, what we're doing for you is literally separating your identities, separating what's mom, separating what's dad, and then separating you. So and that's what's been happening already with the latest, you know, with the latest, say, sessions that you've done. You're starting to separate your identity between you and your mom. Does that make sense for you? That make sense or no? You're kind of
yeah, I'm just generally feeling really at crossroads right now, because I'm also in university and it's my last year, so I have to do my thesis and everything. But
okay.
currently I've been feeling like I'm down on 3 weeks homework, I think, because
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling it, or like, yeah, I don't feel any anxiety or any worry about it. I'm just like trusting the process and feeling that I'm kind of seeing where I go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's, and again, you're associating it to this university. It's the end of your quarter. Again, you're trying to associate something, you know, tangible to it. But again, overall, what's happening for you, you're in the crossroads, okay? Because you're separating yourself from, again, the compassion of your mom, let's say. Okay, let's just put it in a nice way. The compassion of your mom. She did try to do the best for you. Okay? And again, not vicious. So you're separating your identity from her, which actually frees her up. This frees you up as well, by the way. And then this is where, again, your body starts to shape, your body shape starts to change. Your facial features become more and more, say, more and more masculine, because again, you're not feminine, you're more and more masculine. So all those things start to change. You'll start to separate. Even if you don't know your father, you'll start to see some of those, say, fatherly patterns that come from genetics, you inherited from your genetics, will show up. Okay. The anxiety that you talk about back in the day, again, the anxiety came from, and this is why this helps, because anxiety usually is for those individuals who don't understand who they really are. So you're 16, again, you've gone through puberty, you're 16, and you're going, well, wait a second, this isn't the real me. Why don't I feel like the real me? And because it's your mom's pattern that you're running, not your pattern. Okay. And this is where that anxiety comes from. So again, the worry of your mother, because you're worried. When I tap into your mom, she worries a lot about everything. That pattern is not yours. And that's why you feel less anxious doing the 18 days or whatever else that you've done with me. Does that make sense? And that's why you're more settled. And you start to become you're going to start to become, say, an observer of your life. You start to, especially after the session, you'll start to see that it's like, damn, the habits that I have, that's my mom's or that's my dad's. So it's your opportunity here for you to go, I like this habit. I'll make it mine. I'll turn it into, say, a masculine version if it's your mom's habit. Or it's like, hey, you know what? I don't like this habit. I want to change it. And this is where you choose, or where I say, confirm your deletions. You've done enough. 18 days where you go, hey, I want to confirm my deletions, and then change your habits, change your attitude. So you're going to change quite a bit within the next, say, month or two. Do you have any questions as we end?
Well, only thing that I can think of is that, well, the reason I even started with this kind of work or meditation, everything at all, was in the first place that I was uh, I think during the 16th or few years, I've this kind of loneliness and wanting our relationship, but at the same time, doing the work, I've understood that it was a lot about changing myself and all that.
Yes, exactly. So, and basically that's what I was talking about, is that if you did get into a relationship, you would become more and more, say, feminine in that relationship, and you would attract, say, a masculine female for you, and you would lose yourself. So you'd really have to literally find who you are at a deeper level, and that's what you've done. And this is the crossroads that you talk about again, is that the crossroads is like, you're going, okay, I really need to define who I am first, because that's what XI does. And then I can see you getting into a relationship. You said you're turning 22, about November. Yeah. About 6-7 months, you'll start to connect with it's not your last relationship, but you'll start to connect, say, with a woman that's really, really nice. And then that way you start to understand more and more of, say, the manliness that you are.
Yeah, for me, I think, as I also realized that I like romance in the terms of books and movies and everything, I've understood that I really look for this deeper understanding and connection rather than just for the sake of having a relationship. It's this kind of I think it was one of the 18 days where you also said that two halves can't make a whole, but two wholes can make this bigger whole together. So
yep, that's again, yeah. Most people that run your patterns, by the way, again, if your mom or your dad, say, came into you and controlled you, especially women, they have a strong, say, dad authority, or they have daddy issues, for example, right? This is where that comes from, where they can't let go, or they get controlled by their dad so much. So either way, right? And they get distorted. And then they become, say, the masculine person a lot of times, or the hurt victim female in relationships. This is where that same pattern, very similar to this young man here. So cool stuff, buddy. So again, in a few weeks, I actually see you turning into, say, again, a more masculine. People will start to look, it's like, damn, you look more, again, more like harder features, again, more like a masculine person does. And again, there's nothing wrong with the way you look, but as you morph into your real self, right, your physical features and so on like that will have to change.
Yeah, I noticed that actually during this summer, 18 days already, that I looked in the mirror and like my face has changed to be more sharper.
That's my point. Nice job, buddy. So they'll get more and more. Plus, does your mom have gut issues? Who's got gut issues?
I actually had like a week before this, I had weird stomach pains, and my stomach has always been a weak spot for me. I used to overeat a lot because I like good food and like things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you explain it as, well, I like good food. I mean, yeah, we all like good food. But again,
Yeah, I like filling the hole and all.
yeah, the underlying reason why you like, say, the underlying or the first principles reason why is because your midsection is literally that's where your, say, mom used to hide in you, and this would, say, mess up your frequencies, by the way. Okay. And that's where you would have the stomach issues and so on like that, again, because those aren't your frequencies, it's somebody else's frequencies. Also, the other aspect as we leave, because I'm still working on you, is that you're not going to attach on to friends that just weigh you down. You hold on to friends that literally just like burden the hell out of you. So you might lose those friends. They weren't really your friends anyway. They were just using you. All right, because you're just such a nice guy. So that pattern just like eliminates as well. So if you lose friends, it's a good thing because they weren't your friends. They were just using you. All right.
Yeah, I've actually also gone through that a little bit already, so I understand completely.
Yep. Nice job. So nice job. We'll move on to the next person. And who's the next person here? Niels. Hey, Niels. How you doing, buddy?
How are you?
I'm doing really well. So we'll just jump right in, Niels. Yeah. What's your experience with XI, becoming exponentially intelligent?
Essentially none.
Oh, awesome. So you're pretty new,
Yeah.
right? How did you hear about us then?
I heard about you from someone who'd seen maybe some of your YouTube videos
Okay.
in a Power of 8 group, which is like a healing intention group.
Got it. Okay. Take a breath in. So Niels, we'll just jump right in, and maybe it kind of fits with science to the unseen here that we were talking about. Do you ever feel like you're possessed or controlled by something or someone?
I think since an early age, yeah, I was affected by entities or possessed at an early age. Actually, when I was 5, I don't remember the event, but I was traumatized by something really severely, and I think that was an entity.
Yeah. Yeah. So take a breath in, buddy. Your chest. Do you have issues with the chest, or do you feel?
Sometimes I feel pressure. I had exercise-induced asthma starting. It got bad around age 15. It improved some later on in life.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of it is, how stable is your mom?
My mom, I think she's quite stable. I've never seen her as an mentally unstable person.
Okay. What about your dad then? I just see a female frequency.
He died when I was 17.
Got it. Okay. Does he run a feminine type frequency?
My father, I would not say so. He was, I guess you could say, a so-called alpha male, or he was pretty masculine and kind of
Abrasive?
abrasive. Not abrasive, but he had this power about him. Like he had a big presence. Like he could not be intimidated. So I would not. I'm sure he had some femininity. He was not like a total jerk.
Yeah.
I mean,
But he always had to prove himself as a alpha male. Does that make sense?
I don't
Would
know.
that be
Like
accurate?
he was a fighter. I don't know if he had to prove himself. Maybe
Well, if you're a fighter, you know,
yeah.
so anyway, let's talk about that as well. Take a breath in, buddy. And then he said he died when you were 17.
Yeah, pancreatic cancer.
Got it. So let's clean that up for you as well. So that feminine frequency could be your mom. Your mom. Oh, now that I understand better, your dad literally ran a feminine frequency, and I'll explain that to you because you said he was an alpha male, right? Take a breath in. Your mom runs a masculine, say, frequency, or more, say, even keel, or more stable. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So again, I was getting the frequencies wrong because I'm not a psychic. I see frequencies. So, feminine frequency. So again, assuming, but I shouldn't assume, I guess. Breath in again. So basically, your mom would have to adapt to a masculine frequency or like stability, so to speak. And again, females can be stable, but your mom chose to use a masculine, say, persona of being stable because your dad was never, say, completely stable. He always had to fight or put on, say, an identity or again, a facade of being an alpha male. And that's why they're alpha males. There's a lot of, say, men that do a lot of, say, masculine things to prove. Take a breath in again. Notice your chest, your ribs, your collarbone. That whole area is it's just like combobulated. When I see your frequencies, it's like your upper half is just like somebody just like twisted you. Does that make sense? You're kind of like a Rubik's cube. They just put you all over, but you're not, again, in form. And that's where there's a lot of tension in you in that area. Or you might even get anxiety, so to speak, or you used to get anxiety. Does that make sense for you?
Yes, and I also have herniated discs in my low back and neck from being rear-ended. I don't know if that's related.
Well, I'll explain that too. Okay. So again, breath in. So again, signs of the unseen. People go, well, it's because of, I got rear-ended and I got a herniation and so on like that. Yes. So yes, that's absolutely accurate. But again, I'll explain that. So anyway, what happens is that a lot of men, what happens is that they have this fear of going, God, I don't know if I'm heterosexual. A lot of guys have this pattern because again, it's like, and again, your dad was a male, but his mom was so dominating, almost like abusive to an extent, and he always had to escape. Again, much like the last caller. Again, and not. I should validate that. The last caller was very, say, on this side, on this extreme. Your dad was very on this extreme. That again, so basically what that pattern is that a boy gets humiliated by, say, a female, usually a mother, an aunt, or a grandmother, and then they can't prove themselves. So, and again, guys always have to prove themselves. So what do? As they grow up, they become an alpha male. Right. Sometimes, and again, I'm not saying your dad was gay or anything like that, but always questioning his sexual identity. Right. And again, masculine, but always having to prove himself. You see a lot of individuals, and this is coming up, by the way, you see a lot of individuals who are Navy SEALs, a lot of men who are Navy SEALs that turn out to be gay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the thing is, the wrong thing about it is not that they're gay, is that they're trying to hide that they're this masculine alpha male. That's why they go into the Navy SEALs, and they do really, really well at it. Again, that's not the point, but that's not the real identity. Or Bruce Jenner, who again changed into, look, I'm this solid person, you know, I'm really fast, all that, but it's, hey, I need a sex change. Again, that's the kind of pattern that your dad would run, which really messes you up, by the way, as a boy. Take a breath in. And this is the fight that he had in himself, hence, again, really a lot of distortion. Hence, this is where cancers turn. This is where cancers and so on like that. When there's so much distortion that you can't identify who you are, it creates a lot of anxiety. And this is where, again, what happens. So that's your father's experience. The reason why I'm talking to you about your father's experience is because that distortion or that confusion really messed you up as a kid. And then you get scared. And then what happens is that you don't know where you are in spatial time and space. You don't know that you're in this zero reality. Let's just call this a zero reality. Just notice your neck, buddy, where you have the herniation, and your lower back. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to cure you or anything like that, but I am claiming that I can help you awaken your natural healing abilities. And that's what I do, by the way. Okay. No doctor, Western, Eastern medicine, philosophies, whatever. Nobody can cure you or heal you no matter what they say. Okay. No matter even if they're accredited by the American I'm probably getting myself in trouble here. American Medical Association, that's all bullshit, guys. If you cannot awaken your own healing abilities, nothing can cure you, not even God. Okay. And again, that's real. Okay. So you have to awaken, and that's what we do best here. Awaken your natural healing abilities. Again, the limited to the limitless. Notice your lower back, by the way. So again, that distortion you pick up as a young kid because you're highly sensitive and you try not to be, but you're so intuitive. You literally try to create this facade around you. You're such a nice guy, but you create this facade around you and people go, shit, what the hell's wrong with him? Or what's his problem? Or what, you know what I mean? You have that, say, aggressiveness or you know what I mean? But it's just a block because you're so sensitive on the inside because you don't want to be damaged anymore. That makes sense to you.
Yeah.
It's a protection layer for you, right? It's like I'm this rough, tough kind of guy. It's like that way nobody can fuck with me. But on the inside, it's like, God, I just want to be friends with somebody. I just want to connect with somebody. I just want to, really connect and really enjoy, say, intimacy and, talking about, say, the softer subjects and so on like that, right? If that makes sense to you, or the deeper philosophical type concepts and so on. Take a breath in, buddy. So what happens when you're a little kid and your father is all over the place trying to find himself? It messes your space-time distortion, or where you create yourself. Here, you go into other realities. You go into other realities which aren't really friendly, by the way. Okay, there are realities that are friendly. Unfortunately, you went into reality, and there's a reason for that. And this is where a lot of fear comes into you, by the way. Okay, this is where you get, say, again, like I asked you, do you get possessed, like you said, or entities? You've gone into realities, or again, possibilities of you out there that would get possessed or entertained, or again, taken over when you were a little kid. And then once you're open like that, or once you opened yourself, okay, it's just like a channel. They start coming into you. And then, so what we're doing here is let's just close everything off for you and everybody else. Take a breath in again, buddy. There we go. You look very different, by the way. I don't know if anybody else can see that, but you look very different. Do you feel different?
Yeah, I can feel more calm. I sort of feel the energy and more peace, sort of more peaceful.
Yeah. So what I'm doing for you is, because as you go through a process, or and this is why you don't like crowds and so on like that, that's accurate, is that, you know, when you go through a crowd, it's like, God, I don't like people, you know, that because that's the way you are. It's literally you pick all their shit up because you're kind of like a, no offense, but a receptacle or a dumping ground for people. You pick up all their shit, right? You walk by somebody who's having a bad day, later on you'll have a bad day. Literally, like somebody's like, you're waiting behind somebody at a coffee stand. They're having like this anxiety and all that stuff. You pick it up, and then you don't talk to them or anything. You walk away with their anxiety, because again, you don't know how to create your own reality. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So take a breath in again. So it's all about identifying where you are in time and space. Again, your dimension in a reality, in a consciousness, right? Again, I talk about that on the Moss experience on the best to notice your spine. So when I say that you're all jumbled up, and again, this we don't have a lot of time, but when I say you're all jumbled up and so on like that, this is where you get into situations or accidents and so on like that, that create that jumbled effect physically for you. And this is where you get into a car accident. So again, the first principle reason is that when I see your frame, it's all like all over the place. So you would have to render it again, or get into accidents that would make you feel like you're broken apart. There we go. So what I did for you in this mini session was literally align you. So you'll start to, again, I can't guarantee anything, but you'll start to heal better. You'll start to see that, your neck and so on will feel better. You'll start to feel more comfortable with yourself without that, say, aggressive or protective layer around you. You'll start to be able to hang around people and not pull into their shit, or their garbage. And this is where like friendship opens up for you. This is where you don't have to be alone, even if you are with people. This is where you can interact with people and just be yourself. This is where you can just relax, and you don't have to be worried about possessed, or you can even sleep better from what I'm seeing. Because when you, back in the day, there's moments there that it's almost like you were afraid to go to sleep, or when you did go to sleep, again, things would entertain your body. That makes sense for you. Does that make sense or no?
Things might possess me when I was sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible. I don't remember that.
Did you have weird dreams?
Do I have weird? I've
you?
definitely had weird dreams in the past.
That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They weren't dreams, my friend. You literally got, just like you did, when you were 5, you just literally got pulled out of yourself, boom, into another reality. So those things will stop. Spatial referencing will really help you. The elevation starting in November will really, really help you. Obviously, the session will help you. But questions before we end, buddy?
No, thanks.
Okay. Nice job. How do you feel?
I feel better. I feel more relaxed, more calm.
Yeah. Yeah, you should look at the audience comments about you. You're easier, you're young, you feel more here, you're more comfortable. For you, take a look at that, bud. Okay. Yeah, your shield came down. So again, you're just you now. It's quite amazing. So nice job. Congratulations, buddy. Welcome to yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, buddy. I'd like to connect with you probably about a month or so on and see how you feel.
Okay.
We'll have somebody connect with you, interview you, if that's okay, and see how you feel, and we can compare the differences.
Sure.
Really cool. Yeah. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And again, thanks for commenting in on say his demeanor. Again, guys, thanks again. We have to run. It is the Q&A session for the Total Human Reset, the last Q&A session. By the way, the Q&A session or the Total Human Reset, guys, were quite amazing. THR 1230. Yeah, that's coming up. It's coming up in about a half an hour for me. It's quite amazing, guys. Quite amazing changes. If you were in the Total Human Reset Awaken, again, comment in on how fantastic your change has been. My lungs have been feeling really free, changing all the time. Again, and I can't, and it's just too, I won't scan anybody this time around, but we're changing Moss on Sundays, so I can scan more and more individuals. All right. All right. If you want to be part of, say, those individuals who get to be scanned on, say, live medium, I don't know who does that. Again, the team can comment in on how you can get a scan if you're new. All right. All right. Before we end, coming up, again, elevation starting November 7th. Sorry, guys, not this coming Monday, but starting November 7th. It's a great way if you're new to get your feet wet, or get your feet into frequencies, understanding frequencies. It's the new thing, guys. You know, psychology, self-improvement, like sheer willpower and all that stuff. You know, those were like invented, like NLP and all that. That was invented like over 100 years ago, by the way, right? And motivational speakers, you know, even the best of them nowadays are still using, you know, technology that's over 100 years old. Nothing has changed. You know, you want to step into the new version of the latest thing. You don't want to be using that old, you know, dial thing that was called a phone back in the day, right? That was stuck on a wall. You don't want to use that. You want to use something more advanced, maybe something like this, right? So again, if you want to improve your life, whether it's like health, wealth, if you want, especially for high-level CEOs, do a lot of work with them. High-level CEOs, again, they still have personal issues, but again, if you want to get into the next best thing, you know, for your company, more efficiencies and so on like that, again, you'd want to do the November elevation to help you understand what it's all about, right? Help you again create from a higher level. And if those individuals that did the THR that want to keep that momentum going, you want to do the elevation coming up. So that's coming up November 2nd, personal optimization. This is on health. So again, optimizing so you don't have to age the way you do. And also along with that, we have two frequency sessions coming up. One for you to absorb nutrition better. Okay, so allowing your cellular structure to optimize to absorb nutrition better, and then also one for your food and water that you eat and drink. So they're optimized so you can absorb it better. There's a lot of studies, Dr. Emoto, you know, the Emoto Institute. I think if you can go to XI Genome, again, XI Genome, and the team can put that up, talks a lot about, you know, the changes that they did a study on me. And again, you can see the changes in water crystals before and after. Your body's made up of water. So that's coming up in November for you as well, guys. So personal deprogramming coming up. That's actually tonight. Oh, wow. That's tonight. Letting go of expectations of you and yourself that have limited, right? Say like you've had parents back in the day that expected you to do X, Y, and Z, but X, Y, and Z was not you, right? You were somebody else, and now you're limited to their expectations still, although they're long gone. So again, that's tonight. If you want to break away and be you, and again, your expectations, your limitations, and so on like that. If you want that, that's coming up tonight for you. Personal optimization, that's coming up November 2nd. Elevation starting on November 4th. 11/11 coming up. XI activation coming up on November 11th. So that's going to be really exciting. It's literally like a new beginning for many of you. So that's coming up. A lot of good stuff coming up. If you haven't joined, guys, please like this video. And then also subscribe to the channel so you can get more and more individuals who are exponentially intelligent. And that's how we elevate consciousness, by the way. All right, guys, as we end, notice what you notice, and then notice the details of what you're noticing. Peace.